all these criminal migrants that have been flooded in the country are going to be the first to get thrown out of here. I mean, you've seen case after case, these heartbreaking tragedies. Those ones are going to get found and deported first. And look at this Venezuelan gang. You have a Venezuelan gang that is taking over entire apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado. And that's responsible, by the way, for some of the most heinous crimes that have happened all over the United States. The crime rate in Venezuela is down, I believe, a little bit over 60% over the last several years.
Are you trusting the official figures from the Venezuelan dictatorship?
See, that's how you ask a follow-up question. When you have a tool like Stephen Miller, throw out a number like that he does the exaggerated, I'm gonna say 60%. I'm pulling something out of my bum. I'll pull a 60 out of there. Yeah, where are those numbers coming from, Stephen Miller? That you're gonna take what the dictator says and just, yeah, oh, what do you know? A dictator said that things are improved under the dictatorship. I'm gonna run with that. Now, it's obviously ridiculous, but I appreciate the follow-up question, not only because it makes sense to do it, but also when Stephen Miller throws out multiple bits of debunked garbage, which do you focus on? You could focus on the idea that gangs have taken over apartment complexes. That was debunked immediately, and the right has continued to spread it in the same way they continue to spread the dog and cat thing. It's because they don't care. They don't care if it's true. They care if it's racist and if it will appeal to other xenophobes. And they also have no respect on their base whatsoever, so they assume, well, sure, I know it's been debunked, but the rubes that I'm trying to appeal to, they don't know any better, so I'll just say it.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
In any event, that was NTN 24 reporter José María del Pino, who asked the question about, are you taking these official figures from the Maduro regime? And here is how Miller responded to that.
I was asking you about Caracas and the numbers in Caracas. Are you trusting the numbers of the dictatorship?
I am trusting the fact that Kamala Harris is letting illegal immigrants into this country who are raping and murdering children.
I had been very respectful. Why are you yelling?
Do you know who Jocelyn Ungary is? Do you know who she is?
Do you know how many people is experiencing violence in Caracas?
Who is she? Who is Laken Riley?
Why are you yelling again?
Because I'm yelling because children are being raped and murdered.
I was just asking for figures and you have not replied to me about those figures.
Murdered. Do you know who Kayla Hamilton is?
Do you trust the numbers of Nicolas Maduro? I'm asking again.
I trust a ruthless dictator will empty his prisons and send their criminals to our country.
So you trust his numbers?
The most dangerous gang in Venezuela is now.
You trust Nicolas Maduro?
I trust that he does not want his criminals to be.
So you believe in his numbers?
I believe he's sending his criminals to our country.
I love it. That's so good. Oh my God, that is. He tried two different things there. So Stephen Miller, first, he was like, okay, I want to be tough. I've never been tough in my life, but I think tough people yell. I think I'll try that. I think I'll puff up a bit and I'll say loudly things that have nothing to do with the fall. Bear in mind, it's not like the guy just brought up Venezuelan crime numbers. Stephen Miller brought it up and immediately retreated from it because he knows there's no good answer to that. If he says that he doesn't trust it, which you have to say that you don't trust it, because why would you? Well, then why the hell were you citing it? And if he says that he does trust it, that makes him look absolutely ridiculous. And so he runs away and he's like, okay, what if I mention people that died? I'll just say their names. I'll pepper the interviewer with those names. What does that have to do with you cited those facts? And again, he wants to play as a tough guy, except that he's not a tough guy. By the way, Stephen Miller, if you ever want to be a tough guy, we can meet up. We can meet up as two tough guys and we can hash things out or whatever. I don't think that you would enjoy that. So why don't you go back to just being, like the fascist enabler, the guy who's been motivated obviously throughout his life through racism. I don't know where it came from, but it's all that you have right now. And so he throws out all of these names and everything. And we're gonna get to how much some of the family members of the victims of those crimes don't want people like Stephen Miller to be putting the victims' names in his mouth. But anyway, I wanted to get your reaction to his little meltdown there.
Yeah, the family members are being harmed and hurt every time Stephen Miller peddles his trash and uses the victims' names the way he wants to, kind of just takes them and co-opts them for himself. I think Jose is brilliant. And I like that he wasn't intimidated. And every time Stephen Miller tried to pivot and lie and raise his voice, he just kept coming back to the numbers. Do you trust the numbers of the dictator? It's a simple question. Why are you yelling? By the way, do you trust the numbers? I thought it was brilliant. And I think more of us need to adopt that attitude, because part of this is, sure, they're playing to their base, John. But the other part is they want to try to intimidate the media by being outlandish and ridiculous and actually looking us in the eyes and saying it full-throatedly, these lies and disgusting racist statements. And so you have to just kind of keep your eye on the ball and say, trust the numbers or not? Simple question.
Yeah, and by the way, the reporter was actually tough. You know why the reporter was tough? The reporter actually stayed on topic, wasn't like, no, what if we talk about this instead? Well, I trust that Harris has let in kill. That's not what the question was. Like, that's not tough. When you are terrified of the truth, you're terrified to defend a position that you've taken, you are as far from tough as you can possibly be. And you put yourself in that position, Stephen Miller. And by the way, there is some reason to believe that crime rates in Venezuela, which, let's just be clear, he doesn't give one single iota of a damn about. It's a talking point to inspire hatred and fear of migrants here. He doesn't care about anything that happens in Venezuela. But anyway, there is some reason to believe that violent crime might be down in recent years. It's not 60 or 70% down. That's insane. But anyway, and the reasons for it, they're not the reasons you might expect. So some of the arguments are that economic instability has caused crime to drop due to fewer criminal opportunities being available, which is, of all of the things to result in less crime, the fact that there's just not an opportunity for it is not great. And that criminal gangs might have also migrated to other Latin American countries. So there's something there. By the way, he could have cited that stuff if he cared at all about the thing he claims to care about. Instead, he saw online 60%, or Trump said 60%. He's like, no, that's enough. That's fine. I don't care about these people. I don't care literally at all. In fact, I'm going to cite people who are killed by migrants from other countries because it's all the same to me. They're all the same people or whatever. And so he just comes out looking even more pathetic.